what is your experience with, the father wound?
Yeah, you're right. I don't know what you call it. Daddy issues. Yeah, I got daddy issues. I think it's very pervasive, and I think it goes back to a much deeper societal.
Very deep, very deep. But pause. Greetings and welcome back once again. This is Amuna. Another edition of Noteworthy. It's hot. It's getting heated out here in the South, but we're going to rock with it. In this discussion, we're going to examine Dimitri talking about his daddy issues, Ashley sharing her thoughts on his temper, and then we're going to look at some other people who came forward and spoke to the temper and see what we can glean or ascertain from this discussion. So let's continue.
Dysfunction, which is this dynamic definition of masculinity as a subset of patriarchy, right? So when I think about like my father is a man's man. He's like the Cubano black John Wayne. Like he'll ride a horse. He used to ride a horse. He was in the war. He can fix cars. He used to race cars. He fought. I mean, he's
all
a
the
man.
things you describe as
This
masculine.
is a man. This is a man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He's 6'1", he's a man. There's no mistake about it. But on the other side of that, I never heard my father ever use the word "I'm sorry" or "I apologize" ever, even though he was dead ass wrong. You know what I mean? I've never heard him say that.
Okay, so our parents are our first illustration. They're our first template of how to be. So he's saying off the bat that he acknowledges he has daddy issues, and he's proceeding to explain to us what type of person his father was and where he took issue, which one of them his father could be dead wrong about something, but he would never apologize. So that was one of the shortcomings that he observed about his father as a child.
My father was an extreme. I said this in previous episodes. He's an extremely hard man, and when you're growing up as a boy, you're told stop crying, don't cry. There's these things that you need to kind of express your frustration. You're not allowed to do because if you do, they represent some form of weakness. You're a pussy.
Which is toxic masculinity.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But that's what men and
please excuse the language, but this is his language. So he's saying in that space he was taught, don't show weakness. You don't cry. That's not how you express your discontent. I want you to listen with your ears open, right? Let's continue.
What happens is that both men and women start subscribing to that definition, right? Because let a man, and I'm speaking, again, we're going to speak in generalities here, right? But let a man cry in front of a woman, for the most part, he's a pussy. I knew when I grew up, if a dude cried in high school, it was an epic fail.
Even the use of the word pussy.
Right, within itself, right?
To describe a feeling of feminine,
but just being sad. So now because you're a guy and you're sad,
that's feminine.
That's feminine, right?
You're using a part of the female
body to describe it, right? So it's oxymoronic within that its own definition. So let a boy be sad in school and in high school and see what happens. Do you think his brethren, his peers in the 10th grade are going to go, hey, dude, it's going to be all right, we're going to be cool? Do you think girls are going to go up to him and say, oh, you okay? Are you kidding me? Are you flipping kidding me? Now there might be a little bit of that, but I don't know.
I think more people are waking up to the discovery of the way that we've been interacting.
Bear with me. I know sometimes it takes long to get to the crux, but when you're digging for diamonds, you can't just be all willy-nilly. So bear with us. He's describing his thought process, where he grew up in his formative years. What is the blueprint, the template of what makes you a man, what you want to be and what you do not want to be.
So my father, had this skewed definition of masculinity that I obviously adopted. Some parts of it I find are beneficial, which is like own your shit. Don't depend on anyone. Figure it out. Man up, if you will. I think those are good. Walk curbside to a woman. Open her door.
Wait a minute. Adopted from father. He talked about adopting certain toxic masculinity traits. Own your stuff. Don't depend on anyone. Let's see. Let him keep going here.
Protect her, cut grass, shovel shit, do what it takes to take care of your family. Thanks, Dad. Appreciate it. But the other part where my father didn't know how to communicate, when my dad got mad, he would, if he hit his head on the counter or hit his head on the door in the kitchen, he would rip the counter off the wall. He would just literally just tear the cabinet off the wall. Like, and so it's intense. And I can only, as you shared, like I just now as a man understand why my father responded that way. You know what I mean? We all can sit there and say, well, my dad didn't know how to talk and all this good jazz, which he didn't. He was communicating the best he could. And that's what he did when he got upset. And as a child, you look at that and you're like, okay, so I guess when you get mad, you go punch it. You know what I mean? And then you find out that you can't do that, right? And so again, for boys, it's this very weird way to be raised. And then my mother, she was...
Okay, so we got from the horse's mouth, proverbially, that he saw his father when growing up not know how to communicate, not know how to apologize, not know how to own his stuff to a certain degree. And according to his thought process, he saw that as a child, as a young boy, and he began to think that that's how you act when you're upset. You yell, you scream, you rip things off. So let's go forward to some testimonies and to see whether or not that was still present in today. So now we have another clip from Why I Love You So Much. And they're answering questions about what you love about the person and what you don't necessarily like about their mate. And so now let's tune in to hear whether or not some of this toxic masculinity that he learned from his environment, whether or not he's still struggling with it in his adulthood.
Something gets on your nerves.
Gets on my motherfucking nerves. No, it's actually your turn again. Yeah, it's back to you.
Well, like India Irie says, the things that I don't like about you are fine.
Okay.
So let's see what those things are. Let's see. I think the way your patience is set up, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about. You go from 0 to 60 in 3.5.
So they're going back and forth. He thought it was her time, and he's like, no, it's your turn. So she's going into, she tried to butter him up a little bit, gave him a little India Irie quote, and then she goes into his patience. She's giggling and laughing so it doesn't come off too threatening. And she's like, the way your patience is set up, you go from 0 to 60 in 3.5, like 3.5 seconds. You switch on the drop of a dime. Keep that in mind. Write it down.
That's challenging for me, probably because I am so slow to react, if you will. So it's like I haven't even gotten myself together and you're already...
Yeah. Quick question on that. So you're slow to react, but that doesn't mean you're impacted any less. Because I think that's because even me being with you sometimes still now, I'm like, I don't know if you're bothered or excited or even, by the way, to what degree, because you just like, that expression is very muted at times.
Yeah, I guess I would say I'm like an iceberg. You only see a little bit on the surface. There's so much underneath.
You notice that it was so uncomfortable for him to hear the reality that he pushes it back. He shifts it back on her really quickly so she can continue to talk, to get that kind of pressure that he's feeling. So now I like that he kind of hit it back over the wall. We saw that, but let's keep going.
So yeah, I may not present as being affected, but I am. But that's just because I'm working through whatever I'm feeling, and I don't believe that people should have to carry my energy. So if I react so quickly, then that is easily transferred. On the flip side of that, though, I think you kind of know when something's up. You just might not know what.
Yeah.
But back to you.
Yeah. Back to you.
That's just one area that I'm still learning to kind of I know that you're going to react and respond very quickly. And so I oftentimes got to come with my bucket of water to douse your fire.
Uncomfortable laugh.
Does it affect you? If you feel like I'm overreacting, how do you feel? How does that make you feel? So there's two things. It's this actual situation, the thing that actually happened, and then my emotion as I'm expressing it about the thing that happened.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever really the thing. Like, I don't care if you're... Not that I don't care.
Because that's the
truth.
truth.
It doesn't matter what it is that you're responding to. I think when you're affected, it affects me.
Okay.
So, if you're affected by it, whether it's personal or about something else,
Yeah, y'all could go ahead and watch the rest. He already done flicked it back over the wall, put it back on her, say, how does my overreaction affect you? But this conversation was about the things that you do. And so he needed to own his stuff in that moment, and he did it. He deflected. So let's go on to another example of this overreaction that Ashley is well aware of. They're transparent. I didn't dig in their crates. They had this open to share, to be honest about what was going on with them. So this is not really just about it's not about pointing the finger. It's just going back and looking at the complaints that people have in present day and seeing whether or not they discussed this at any time. And they did. So thank you so much as we begin to... All right, we're back with another clip, and this time it's me. I was interviewing Ari. It was an excellent interview with Sister Mayana. And she's going to speak about a time when she experienced this 0 to 100 or 0 to 60.
Yes. Put me out because he didn't want to put me out. See, she wanted me to go, and he didn't want me to go. So he would try to reason and use logic with her, like, Ash, this is really petty.
And she's saying choose.
Right. And she's like, well, I'm leaving. So she leaves, and she tells him, I'm not leaving until she's gone. I'm not coming back.
Not coming back until she's gone. That's what I figured. Did she take their children with her?
Yes. And she knew how to use the children to shift power in the relationship. And so I remember when she was gone, I'm in the kitchen cooking, and he's in his office in the basement, and I hear him screaming at the top of his lungs. And I'm like, what the hell is happening? He's yelling, you stupid bitch, bring my kids back. And I'm like, So I go downstairs, and I'm like peeking, listening in outside the door. Yeah, I was shocked because I was like, who is this man yelling and screaming at? And it was her. And he's like, bring my effing kids back, and you can't do this. I knew you were gonna try to take my children, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh my God. And it was her keeping the kids from him and probably threatening him to not bring them back because she wanted to be gone.
So they could sleep.
All right, so that is a clip from Ari's experience, one of them anyway, that she narrated for us with Dimitri and his temper. And in this time, he's speaking to Ashley, who's well aware that he has temper issues, as we just saw. And I just want one more witness so that we can round this off. First, we have him saying it. We have Ashley saying it. Now we have Ari saying it. So I'm going to just get one more witness so that we can solidify this here issue that the brother does have temper problems. And the possibility of what Chrissy is saying, based on the evidence, there's a possibility that is factual. All right? So stay there. And
from January to April, were you guys still under like the illusion that you were going to get some show? Was he still saying that, like, oh, you're going to get your truck show and, like, keep spending money and
So
do this, that, and the other?
It had evolved from, we're going to get a show, to, well, I'm not promising you a show, I'm just promising you that we're going to produce it. I don't know that it'll be a show, but we're just going to produce it and we'll see what happens from there. Well, again, you have to be taking video to have something to produce.
if you didn't see this video, it's on John Yates' channel. This is another family who came out that spoke to the fact that they were hosting Dimitri at their home. This man, Ken, is actually the one who says that he alerted TMZ. Chrissy stayed at his home for 10 days. He's sharing his experience with Dimitri. He was supposed to be helping him or he pitched the man, Ken, the idea of doing a reality TV show with remaking military grade trucks and things of that nature. Dimitri wanted a truck from him. The man thought he was going to get paid, and the story is beginning to change, and he's trying to hold Dimitri accountable for what he initially said. And Dimitri, according to what this man is saying, is changing up the agreement, because it wasn't anything written down and it was verbal, he allowed him to stay at his home under the pretext that Dimitri was going to be filming and recording the process of doing the truck. So he was going to do the truck at cost, but Dimitri had to pay for the truck. This is what he's saying. So I had to set up the scenario, and then let's go.
And I really want to go back to that point of in February, this man came after me physically. I watched his switch flip on this guy like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He came charging at me, arms spread wide, screaming to the point where people, our building, we have 30,000 square feet of a 200-some thousand square foot building. People on the other side of the building that is over 2 blocks long heard him screaming at me. I got the text messages from him the next day apologizing that maybe I shouldn't have raised my voice at you. Dude, you were straight up screaming. I tried to leave the situation, he blocked me.
And what was the cause of his
Because I wasn't willing to give him these 2 trucks. Because we hadn't started building this truck yet. I need money to build the truck. No money, no truck build. We don't just give anybody anything.
That's right. No money, no truck bill. So we are seeing how many witnesses? Dimitri himself, Ashley, Ari, and now Ken and his wife, which is 5 witnesses that are attesting to the fact that he's very charismatic. He's very charming. He knows how to get his way. But when he doesn't get his way, he kind of reverts back to the toxic masculinity that he spoke about in the beginning of this clip that he saw from his father. He reverts back to that programming. So no amount of intellectual knowledge can override if you have not upped your emotional intelligence. And sometimes we have old programming still on the computer, and so when we are put in a situation and we're triggered, we revert back to that space. Now that's a human issue across the board, but when it's something that you are now violating other people, when you are being violent towards other people, herein lies the problem. And so you make your own judgment. Let me know your thoughts. I kind of wanted to put that all together and put it out there as we're continuing to have this informed discussion. Hopefully it's an informed discussion, and we can see within our lives, whatever situations, a lot of people need anger management. We see that it's not partial to just men or women. Whenever he doesn't seem to get his way, he goes into this mode, which can be dangerous for those who are in and around him. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This is Amuna, Solonomics. You done know, like, subscribe, share the video.